what's interesting is that some people who support him are saying adultery really isn't a crime.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Extending Family Podcast. My name is Dewan.
And I'm Jen.
We are so glad to have you back watching or listening, as it were, as we bring you another episode about Black lives and Black love.
As you know, we try to keep the topics rotating every month. And so now we came into March. We would like to talk about identity. And that's a really big topic. So
Yes.
to break it down a little bit, we thought, hey, let's add some spice and talk about the Black card. So for the next 2 episodes with identity and Black card, we're going to look at people that maybe should have their Black card taken away with the cancel culture, or should we turn a blind eye and just appreciate what they have given us?
You'll hear us use phrases like Black card or cancel culture overlapping, even though we acknowledge that they kind of refer to 2 different overlapping ideas.
Absolutely.
As always, make sure you hit the like button
And subscribe.
And of course,
As always, leave some comments so we can interact with you.
let us know what you think about this conversation and, pass it on to some of your friends or family. That way we can extend the family.
Also in the description, I will link our articles that we use to research, as well as another podcast or another YouTube channel, so that you can hear what others are saying on the topic.
Absolutely. To begin, I want to start with one of my poems called Salutations. Yesterday, you asked how I felt, and I wanted to tell you the truth. That muffled sounds created by closed hands thump like the soundtrack to my life and repeat erratically. That my ears ring with the nightmarish howls of anger, dangling like lifeless bodies that sway from sturdy beams in broken homes. I wanted to show you the bruises on my body, deep purples that match wilted African violets, fading into faint smears of dandelion residue. I wanted to tell you how I planned to leave him, to gather my courage and my clothes, but instead, my abandoned ambitions hang like shame and point like the clock hands that glide across faces when I search for time to help with homework, shop for groceries, pay bills, and find a place to feel safe. You asked me how I felt, and I wanted to tell you the truth. I wanted to say forsaken, forlorn, frail, fatigued, defeated, but instead, I said fine. A lot of times we interact with people in our lives, whether it's a stranger or somebody that you really know well, and we ask how they're doing, but we don't take enough focus off of our own lives to stop and really listen. And conversely, we feel like when somebody's asking, they don't really want to know what's going on in my life. So on both sides of that, I think we have an opportunity to get better, to reach out to our loved ones and make sure they're doing okay, especially in the pandemic.
Absolutely. And I feel like as we segue into talking about Bill Cosby, the reason we're also talking about Bill Cosby is because very recently, June of 2020, he came up for an appeal, and they're still waiting to hear about that decision for the appeal. But Bill Cosby very much said the reason he is being attacked and that he had to go to prison was because of the Me Too movement. And I think when I hear your poem, Salutations, that's what the Me Too movement is about. It's about taking the time to really listen to not just females, but males, not just men, but also women and their experiences, so that they don't have to say fine, so that they don't have to bury it and carry it and live in shame, that your voice should be heard and we should care about you and what you've experienced. But before we get into the Me Too movement and the allegations, let's acknowledge Bill Cosby for everything that he has done and his impact on the culture.
Bill Cosby has a career that spans
6 decades.
6 decades. That's crazy.
He went on to win 3 straight Emmys for his work in television.
Wow.
He also won the
Presidential Medal of Freedom, right?
Right. He has had several TV shows, sometimes running concurrently, since 1965, with a TV show that I did not know about called I Spy. Side note, with I Spy, Cosby was the first African American male to have a leading role in a TV show.
I did not know that.
With I Spy.
Wow. You follow that up with a lot of shows in the 1970s, including Fat Albert. And then he had a series of animated shows along the way, including Little Bill.
Little Bill.
I never even heard of this.
And I was telling my husband about Little Bill. I said, oh my goodness, it was on Nickelodeon. It was a really cute show. I liked it. I have lots of cousins and I have lots of family, so I remember having them watch Nickelodeon and like, oh, this is an appropriate show for children to watch. I like it.
And I think that's kind of the bridge of his career. It's always been these wholesome, appropriate, family-oriented shows where you can have everybody in the household sit down and watch, but also a lot of times they had some sort of moral or
overarching lesson for us to take away.
Exactly.
Yes. There was another animated show that I never watched called Fatherhood.
Fatherhood, yeah. I didn't hear about that. But I'm sure you remember Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Oh, yes. And then he also went online with that.
Yes, it was more of an interview style, but he still was talking to kids. And believe it or not, it lasted 3 seasons.
OBKB.
OBKB.
But of course, with Cosby, you get The Cosby Show.
You get a different world.
And you also get Cosby.
And Cosby Mysteries.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of different iterations of Bill Cosby, but I think Cosby Show is the one that really hits home for us because it elevated what it meant to be a black family in America.
And with The Cosby Show, we get a different black experience. We get, in my opinion, a different group of people who get to hold that black card.
Not only that, you get so many different personalities with the kids, Theo and Rudy and
Vanessa.
Yes, of course, I love Vanessa. Not only that, but Dr. Huxtable and Mrs. Huxtable were a lawyer and a doctor, and it was just a different dynamic for black families.
While this was wonderful for the black community to see, again, not a caricature, not someone as an entertainer, but still being successful, but also it was important for the white audience to see. Here is a married black couple that is also a power couple. What that level of success looks like.
You might not like this, it might not be a popular opinion, but a lot of ways, The Cosby Show was a precursor to other shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Rock, Family Matters. The list goes on and on.
Oh, I can definitely see it being a precursor to Family Matters.
All of those shows showed the nuclear black family as an entity, not as a broken home.
Yes.
These aren't people who are struggling. The hardcore issues of drugs or gang violence. It's a regular family show.
And maybe same for you. Watching The Cosby Show or watching A Different World, it allowed that conversation of college to happen, or those conversations of careers to happen. We saw that the characters were dancers. We saw that the characters were weightlifters.
They did math.
They did lots of math. Doctors and what that meant. He was a pediatrician. No, he was an OBGYN.
He was an OBGYN.
He was an OBGYN.
Yes.
And the wife being a lawyer. And remember when Alvin came.
Oh, yes.
And they started challenging what is your role? What is the wife's role? What is the husband's role? Gender norms.
One of my favorite parts, just understanding that they were showing us that a relationship between a husband and wife wasn't necessarily a power dynamic, but a partnership, exactly. And even with all of those things said and all the contributions that Bill Cosby has made throughout his work in his lifetime, we have to address and talk about the allegations of sexual abuse.
Yes, he was found guilty on 3 counts of sexual assault. The thing is, it wasn't proven
that's the part that makes it so difficult for people like us, people like me. I'll speak for myself because I do support and believe that hashtag believe women, but I also feel very uncertain about how the trial took place and the fact that there was no evidence.
I really wasn't conflicted at first. When I think of Bill Cosby and the allegations, at first I was disappointed, just utterly disappointed. Somebody else on Twitter once said, and I apologize, I can't remember exactly the tweet, but that being black is also a privilege. And when we talk about we have our black card and we prove it, we also want to make sure we protect it. And we don't want to do things that bring everyone in the community down. And when you have someone like Bill Cosby, who has done so much for the culture and has done a lot with giving of money and helping other people, helping young people, it's so disappointing that someone could do that. And I'm not saying that we're holding him on a pedestal and he has fallen from grace. We understand that people make mistakes, but then this is more than a mistake. They were drugged. He's saying they were consensual.
That's an interesting statement. Adultery is not a crime. And I think that different generations are going to view adultery in different ways. People in our generation are a lot less tolerable of cheating or even allegations of cheating. And I worked with women who were probably 20 years my senior or more. And I was very surprised to hear them say, those women knew what they were getting into. You're not going to go to a man's house late at night and not expect something to happen. And Jen and I, we don't see things that way. We truly believe that, number one, men and women can be friends. Number two, that it's not consent until it's consent, and even that consent can be withdrawn.
And so when it comes to other people in the culture defending Bill Cosby, I think two names really stand out. And of course his wife,
Yes.
but also his former TV wife, Felicia Rashad.
Yes, Felicia Rashad, I learned, was misquoted as saying, forget those women. But apparently, and she cleared this up in an interview, saying that she did not understand how people could be dismissive of the legacy despite the allegations. But she also was saying that in a way, Bill Cosby was found guilty by the media.
And there were two other people from the Cosby Show who also said the same thing. Basically, that the Cosby Show and everything that Bill Cosby has done for the culture is separate. The legacy should be separated from Bill Cosby and his actions. We know that Malcolm Jamal Warner, when he was misquoted as saying, yes, the Cosby legacy has been tarnished. And he said, wait, that's not all that I said. He said that, of course, anytime something negative happens, that it's going to have an impact. However, that his legacy, the Cosby legacy and all that he's done for Black writers, Black producers, Black actors, bringing the most people in from the culture, you can't take that away because it's a fact. It happened. If you want to hear more detail about this, especially about Malcolm Jamal Warner's statements, I encourage you to check out the link for Comedy Hype on YouTube.
It's very difficult for us to reckon with that separation of the person from the history or the impact on the culture. There are a lot of different ways we can talk about that, but I can speak from personal experience of feeling like what I do is going to affect how people judge other Black people. So I can't even imagine the pressure that one would feel on such a big stage.
Mm-hmm. And I think what Felicia Rashad's saying, the media found Bill Cosby guilty, resonates with what Bill Cosby's wife, Camille Cosby, has said. there are particular white women who find a black person to attack. Actually, in an interview not too long ago, she with ABC, she was explaining that her husband's arrest and trial is very similar to Emmett Till's trial.
Those are pretty big words.
You know, in history, that a white woman can say, "This happened to me," and everyone believes her because of her white privilege. One person says this is true, everyone believes it, and so then the black community is attacked.
And I think that's kind of the foundation of the older generation's defense of Bill Cosby. In many ways, they aren't defending that behavior. They're not defending people who would have done something like that, but they're defending the idea of this person, this star, doing something this debased. Phylicia Rashad herself feels like this was something that was orchestrated, I think was the word she used. And it's very difficult for us to ignore all of Black history and the ways that we've been mistreated and things have been covered up. For us to see an actor whose career spanned 6 decades all of a sudden have 4 allegations was off. It felt wrong.
When Bill Cosby came up to the parole board, he said he will not show remorse for something he didn't do. To this day, he stands by that he is innocent, that everything was consensual. The Cosby Show was initially pulled due to his being found guilty. We also know that in 2014, he was supposed to have another show come out through Netflix, but that was rescinded due to the guilty verdict. Amazon Prime now carries The Cosby Show, and Hulu carries a documentary on Bill Cosby. Hope you liked today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Catch us in the comments, let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time. All right, peace.
Power and love.